All right.
Podcast is live.
Oh, we all the way live, baby. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Brandon Leone. I am a real estate agent in the Placer and Sacramento County area. I am joined by Mr.
Keith Collins.
Keith Collins.
I do mortgages.
Mortgage lender. Yeah, he does mortgages. I do mortgages.
I help people finance.
You need a shirt. Me do mortgages.
I help people finance the American dream. I love my lender shirt for everybody.
He is an influencer. All right, we're moving on. So today we're going to be talking about the Sacramento and Placer County real estate update for December 2021. So we're going to be talking about what are some of the headlines, what's going on in the market. We always started off with we have a drink that we're drinking because it's brew and real estate is how this all started. So we have a good time. It's kind of like our version of a happy hour. We're going to go over kind of where the market is as a whole. We're going to talk about foreclosures. We're going to talk about interest rates, all the stuff that everyone loves to talk about. We're going to cover that quickly in about 30 minutes. And then we're going to let you know of some new home opportunities that we have as well in the Sacramento area. So without further ado, Keith, what are you drinking today?
I'm going with the go-to, man. Little Stella in a frosty mug.
So boring.
It's not boring because the thing is, man, it's BrewRE. So I'm trying to stay with the original advertising.
All right, got it. Okay, I have in my glass. This is a limited release Maker's Mark SE4 PR5. Boom.
Do you like? I mean, you've drank a bunch of it. Do you like it?
55.4%. This is, check out these tasting notes. Let me know if this sounds good at all. Barrel finished for amplified notes of vanilla, baking spices, and creamy caramel.
I don't even understand like the creative writing sometimes in those tasting notes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's got all those things. Oh yeah, definitely.
I struggle to wrap my brain around Makers, man. Just being honest.
I'm not mad at it.
I can't get to it.
Hey, either way, cheers, big ears.
I love it.
Okay, moving on.
Let's get into this.
We got to get into the nitty gritty, but first, let me hear your best dad joke.
I was gonna tell a joke about time travel, but you guys didn't get it. So, you with me on that one? Okay.
What took me a second. You paused and looked at me, and I'm like, "That is the joke, isn't it?"
That is the joke. Yeah. Got it.
It's a delay.
So, no, that was the warm up. Here's the joke. You ready? Okay. All right. Here's the joke. This is it. What did one snowman say to the other snowman?
How's it hanging?
Do you smell carrots?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're doing warm-ups now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Here's my warm-up. Did you know that milk is the fastest liquid on Earth?
I didn't know that.
It's pasteurized before you even seen it.
Okay.
Pasteurized. Did you get it? Like pasteurized? That was epic warm-up. Best warm-up of all time.
Yeah, I'm scared for the next one.
I'm glad you got that.
I'm really worried on the next one.
All right, here we go.
That was good. Brandon, that was good.
I really like that one, actually. I'm going to keep that one. All right. So why does Snoop Dogg always carry an umbrella?
I don't know why Snoop Dogg always carries an umbrella.
But drizzle.
That's bad.
That's not bad.
I don't even get it, to be honest.
But drizzle. Like for the drizzle of the water coming down.
I don't think he's ever had his
hair doesn't get nappy.
I don't think he wears an umbrella.
Okay. All right. Anyways, moving on. That was a little fun that we like to have. The drizzle, really? The first one was really pasteurized. I should have led with the Snoop Dogg. That should have been my warm up.
That was your warm up.
I wouldn't expect you to get that because you don't listen to rap music.
I used to.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. So there's a lot of things going on right now in the market. Obviously, last month we covered Zillow and what was going on there. We are still in a competitive market. Not a lot has changed in that. We're still in that competitive market. But right around the time is where you start to see headlines of foreclosures. And I'm sure you've heard those. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around, but you're going to start to see things. And I get a lot of my information because I like the way he presents it from Sacramento Appraisal Blog.
So good.
Ryan Lundquist does an amazing job.
So good.
And so I thought this is a great point to kind of start with is, foreclosures for Christmas, right?
How many foreclosures were last month?
What's that?
Is it like active foreclosure listings right now?
Yeah, there's not. So Derek, pull up that stat. There hasn't been that many foreclosures. I mean, there's like 10. There's not many right now.
Yeah, no, it's not many.
My point is that you're going to see things pop up like, hey, they're halting on their foreclosures for the new year. Like, oh, they're not gonna, right? But that's not true. And I love the way Ryan put it. He's like, hey, you're going to get foreclosures as a New Year's present. So if you look at Q1, look at how far back this goes. I mean, we're looking at 2013. Look at how high the foreclosure rate was, 12%, right? And so every single Q1 of every single year, there's a huge spike in foreclosures. And so even though it's gone down over the years and it's not as high, expect that to be the case. Now, as you can see, even, Q1 of last year, it was so small, right? Maybe 1%. So I'm curious to see on what changes because, Keith, we had lots of things going on, like the moratorium and all of the different things. You couldn't evict any tenants. There was all kinds of things going on. So I'm curious to see how it goes this year and how that number might change.
I just think that that's the trajectory it's going to stay on. There's for two reasons, right? One, people have equity, right? The majority of people have equity. And so if they're in a situation where they're going to lose their house, they're going to sell their house and pocket the money. It's not a foreclosure situation where people are upside down. They're in distress, but the house isn't in distress.
Sure. So, Keith, that's why you can see the Q1 numbers, the percentage
go down. Yeah, because people are selling.
That's when we've gained the most in equity, right? Since 2017. So you could see, and that's basically what that graph means is that, hey, people have equity. They're not going into foreclosure because they're able to sell and make a profit.
Correct. It's not happening.
Great. All right. So next, I got quite a few slides. I don't know. I went slide happy on this, but I got some stats for you today. So this is a year-over-year slide for Sacramento County, right? And the one thing that I want to make note of here, there's lots of stats here. You can see all the number of sales, average price per square foot, all that. But if you look at the median price, it went from $440,000 in November of 2020 to $515,000 November 2021. So you're talking about a $75,000 increase, right? Increase by 17%. Yeah, 17%. So check this out. Go to the next slide, Derek. We have the Placer County year over year, 18%. So $100,000. So the median price in November of 2020 was $550,000. The median price for 2021, this is all of Placer County, $650,000, a full $100,000 in median price improvement. I just that blows my mind. I do market updates every single month, like shorter snippets, and it was the same thing. It was like that was my most alarming stat. It's like, could your house have gone up $100,000? Like legitimately think about that in 1 year. And when you're investing money, you're looking for a very small, small percentage of return, but to be able to gain 100,000 in a year is mind-boggling. And so, the truth is home values have changed. And so if you're curious of what your home value might be, we'd be happy to help you get you a very pinpoint market analysis to know exactly how much your home has increased, even if it's just in the past year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. So the next graph is actually the Sacramento County just month to month. So this is October of 2021 to November of 2021. So the things that kind of stick out to me is the number of sales. The number of sales have gone down, 10.9%. Now that's pretty normal this time of the year. It does slow down a little bit. But the other thing we want to look at is the months of supply has dropped down 21.8%. Now it wasn't high to begin with, right? It was 0.78 months of supply down to 0.61. But that just shows you, anytime we're under 1 month of inventory, meaning if we don't list any other houses for the month, that's how long we have to run out. I'm telling you right now, like anytime you're under one, it is heavy sellers market. So even though we've slowed down, there are less buyers looking during the holidays. There are less people listing houses. We're still at a scarcity level of inventory available. It's gone down. So that's Sacramento County. Now the next one we're going to look at is Placer County. Same thing, October to November. So looking at that one, months of supply has gone down 21.4%. So we saw a little bit larger. The months of supply in Placer County was a little higher than in Sacramento County, but it's still gone down 21%, which is pretty crazy. And then the other thing is the average days on market. Average days on market went up 11.8%. So moving on, that's okay. Moving on, I really like this because as I'm looking at how much people are willing to pay for a house, and you just see how even just a few months ago, like if you look in April, May, June, July, you see those numbers, and people were paying, $20,000 to $30,000 over the list price, and you saw that as a normal thing, as an average, and you've seen it's come back down to a little bit more normalcy as far as people paying, $5,000 or under, and you look at this number and you look at it and you're like, oh, great, like the market's more stable. It's still competitive, guys. If you have a house that's upgraded, that's ready to move in, that's in good shape, like it still can't be competitive. But I believe that in November, December, January, that's pretty much the best time to buy a home where you're going to be able to get, a pretty fair price, and it makes sense to buy in this time to not stop your search. So if you have stopped your search and around the holiday season, don't, because there are still some deals to be had there. And then lastly, I want to cover the sales with multiple offers. So of everything we look at here, this is also very similar to the other graph. So we're going to go to the multiple offer slide here. There we go. So if we look in May, April, May. So in the May and April, we're looking all the way from the first graph all the way to 2017, right? Then we're looking in 2018 and 2019. So as you can see, we've been going up and up and up with multiple offers. And we are seeing that even right now, we're still higher than last year. The multiple offers is up there. It's still happening because there still are more buyers and sellers. It is due to the low inventory. So I don't see that changing a whole lot. The multiple offers is still a thing. And so, I talk about this often, but it's like the old way versus the new way, right? The old way was, start at a price, a low price, and kind of negotiate up. And price is price. So you're not necessarily going to be lowballing offers and getting them accepted. We still are in a competitive situation, so you need to make sure that your offer is competitive, not just your price, but your terms. Keith, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, man, I got three things to jump out of this really quickly. And one, starting with this slide. I think it's always an interesting thing to say is people will say, hey, I'm just going to wait for the spring. I'm going to wait to list my home in the spring buying season, right? And it's like, when does the spring buying season actually start? And if you look at this graph going all the way back to 2017, when does the multiple offers start to increase? It's January and February. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people think of the spring buying season as like an April, May type of thing when spring actually happens. No, the market historically, and you can look at this graph right here, it shows you that changes like January 5th is when the market starts warming back up again. So there's a really interesting window right now as a home buyer to potentially get a home with less competition. And then it just shifts really quickly. And then if you're a seller thinking about selling your home and you're like, oh, I'm going to put that on in June, you're almost too late because the market actually starts to correct the other way. Then it really, that time to put your house on the market in that spring buying season is at the first of the year, Q1, to kind of catch that. The other thing,
I think that's a good point. There are a lot of people that maybe read the tabloids or are, we get around this time of the year and it's like, oh man, the sky is falling. Like, you have to look at it from a perspective of if you're looking on buying or selling a house, the stats will tell you start in January, or if you're buying a house, start in October, November, December, January. But once the middle of January hits, towards the end of January, that's when the market starts to shift. So if you're selling your house just consider that earlier rather than later. Don't miss the bus,
Yep.
so to speak.
Hey, Derek, can you go back to the Placer County year over year? I just want to show. So this is really interesting on the Placer County year over year. This is the other thing I grabbed. You just passed it. I think it was the orange one there. One more down. Placer County year over year. So check this out. Go back. You had it there. There you go. Right there. Stop. So November 20 to November 2021, we got an 18% increase in home prices, which basically $100,000. And so, there's a lot of people out there, including Dave Ramsey, who will say you need to wait and you need to save for a 20% down payment. And there's a lot of people that unfortunately have been waiting and saving for a 20% down payment to get to that place where they think they need to be, and they just lost out on $100,000 in a year. In 1 year, that home is $100,000 more expensive than it was before. And recently, we had a loan amount increase where in Placer County, you can buy a $700,000 home and just put 5% down and do a conventional home loan. So I'm not suggesting that $700,000 is the mark for a first-time home buyer, but you don't need 20% for a down payment. And for those that are waiting, home prices are going up. And then that final comment to that is when are the home prices going to slow down, right? When are we going to stop seeing appreciation? That's when we start seeing less demand. When prices decline, when demand declines. And out of all the graphs you're showing right here, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is demand is not declining. I'm not suggesting we're going to see 18% year over year growth every single year, but we're not in a market or a place from a demand standpoint where it's going to go the other direction. So amazing opportunities right now to grab, generational wealth opportunities with only 5% down.
Absolutely. And that being said, we talk about these graphs, we're looking over this information and we're saying, hey, if you are thinking of buying, don't miss out on the 100,000 in equity you could have had you purchased last year. But interest rates are also on the rise. Like they're going to continue to rise in 2022. So Keith, can you talk a little bit about the interest rates and where we're at on that?
Yeah, so we've seen interest rates move up a little bit, and really that's just kind of related to inflation. Everybody's seeing, we're seeing inflation everywhere. You're seeing it at the pump, you're seeing it at the grocery store, everything. I can't think of one thing that hasn't gone up in the last 12 months from an inflationary standpoint. And then, numbers just came out, we're at 6.8% year over year inflation. That's the highest inflation we've seen since the 80s. There's people who are 30 years old that have never seen inflation. We're in an interesting market where things are going up. And one of the worst things for a 30-year fixed interest rate is inflation. When we see inflation, interest rates go up. And so the one thing that I was just wanted to share and kind of throw out there is, we're potentially in a double whammy situation where, 1% increase in rate is the same as a 10% increase in price from a payment standpoint, right? If you had a $500,000 home with a 3.25% interest rate, your payment is about $1,740, $1,750 a month. But if that rate goes to 4.25, a 1% increase, it goes to about $1,950 a month. Okay, so $1,950. So if interest rates go up 1% on a $500,000 home, you're about $1,950 for a payment. If that purchase price goes up 10% to $550, your payment goes to about $1,920. So it's a very similar payment. So we're kind of in a potential double whammy situation where interest rates are going up and prices are going up. So I think there's a great opportunity right now for people to, we're locking in the price, but you're also locking in the rate. Historical average for interest rates is 7%. I'm not saying we're going there, but the historical average of interest rates is 7%, and we're still in the low threes.
And so, that brings up a good point, because as people start getting ready to purchase a home and they're getting their process going, they're getting their pre-approval, all that, that's a concern that, hey, I'm bidding on these houses. I may not be winning. Interest rates are continually going up. What are some ways to counteract that?
Well, the only way to counteract an interest rate going up is to try to get into a house sooner, right? You can pay
Which means make your offers more competitive.
Correct.
Right?
What
about locking your interest rate long term?
Yeah, right it to buy it. Locking an interest rate long term is more so something that related to a new construction build. There are lock and shop programs out there where you pay a fee, lock your interest rate, and then it kind of rolls down to a market rate. So you can do something like that. but most of the long-term lock things are on new construction. And I think you actually have some new construction stuff to talk about today. So that might be a cool little run in, but that is kind of a cool thing with new construction is when you're in that build stage, right? So you're buying a home, you're locking in a price. Maybe if there's some variance in terms of the upgrades and options you're going to put into the home. You're buying a home, you're locking in a price, but that home, you're not going to execute on that and lock that right traditionally in maybe 30 to 45 days out from the build, which could be 6 to 9 months down the road. So there's kind of that variable that a lot of times buyers have that concern about is like, I'm locking in this price, but I don't really know what my payment's going to be, especially if interest rates are moving up. So we actually have some very competitive long-term lock options where you can lock in the interest rate while the home is being built. And if rates go up, you're protected. And then there's a float down option 45 days out. So if 45 days out, rates are actually better than when you originally did the lock back at, the start of the construction, you can actually float down. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And that all sounds good. Anything else you wanted to cover in regards to interest rates?
No, I think that's it, man. I think, inflation, as we see inflation's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. There's an argument that I talked about last time a little bit that the government actually wants inflation to counteract the large amount of debt that we've racked up. Inflation's a debt destroyer. And right now, if you can get a 30-year fixed interest rate below the inflation rate, banks are actually paying you to borrow money, which is a very interesting concept. But inflation's, here to stay for at least the near term. It's not going anywhere. And if we continue to see sustained inflation, we're gonna see slightly higher interest rates.
Yep. And so thank you for that. I think that's really helpful. Should you guys have any questions, leave a comment, let us know. And that's about our time today. I think one more thing I wanted to cover, we were able to make a great relationship with a builder who is building homes here in the Sacramento area. So should you or anyone be looking to purchase a new home, so a brand new home, this is a small builder. So we have 14 homes off of Garfield in Sacramento. We got 28 homes in Rio Linda. We have some homes coming up in Antelope, where I grew up. I call that the Lope. Yeah,
Okay.
likes that. So we have some opportunities coming up, and our house is starting at the 400,000. So it's affordable, and if you're not potentially looking for that, I know you have a friend that may be. So feel free to tag them in this video or connect us so that we can make sure we actually have at the Sacramento location right now, we have 4 homes that we're ready to reserve that we can actually reserve. That doesn't mean you're competing. It's not a waiting list. We can literally reserve a home for you today. They'll be ready. They will be completely ready. Every single house has vinyl flooring, quartz countertops. All the houses are decked out, white shaker cabinets, and they're priced affordable, and they should be ready in May to June of 2022. So anyone that that's interested in that, feel free to get them connected with us, and we'd love to help them in the process. And I so appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you, Keith. As always, quality information. I know we jam-packed tons of data in a small area, but should you need any help, refinancing or purchasing a home from a loan standpoint, Keith is here to help. And if you're looking on buying and selling any real estate in Placer, Sacramento County, I'm your guy. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next month.
Stay classy.
Stay classy, Sacramento.